This is Design Safe Radio, where natural hazards researchers strive to make our society more resilient to everything nature throws at us.
All right, hello. Welcome to another episode of Design Safe Radio. I'm your host, Dan Zahner, and I'm really happy to see my colleague and friend from North Carolina, Stephanie Pilkington, back again. Good to see you again, Stephanie.
Good to see you, Dan.
For those who haven't listened to your previous episodes, can you quickly introduce yourself and talk about what you do within the Structural Engineering Extreme Events Reconnaissance Network, which after this, we're going to just call it StEER, because that's a very long acronym.
It is. So, hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Pilkington. I am an assistant professor at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I'm a structural engineer by training, and I focus on natural hazards and their impacts to communities. And as part of the Structural Extreme Events Reconnaissance, or StEER network, I serve on the Wind Advisory Board. And so that means I focus largely on, say, tornadoes or derechos or hurricanes and look for events with extreme wind damage.
What is a derecho? I vaguely remember what that is, and some people listening may not know what that is.
Yeah, so a derecho, I knew as soon as I said that word.
It's a really fun word to say too.
Right? A derecho is a extreme straight line wind event. And what I mean by that is that a tornado has rotating winds, and a derecho will have winds going out in one direction. And so a derecho, typically how they look on radar, it kind of looks like a bow.
Okay.
Like a boomerang, almost looking. And right at the leading edge of that kind of boomerang shape is where you have the strongest winds. And those winds can get pretty significant. There's been a couple in the past few years. One that went through Ohio, I think 2-3 years ago, maybe. And that front line of wind can go over in excess of, say, 60 miles per hour for wind.
So you're part of StEER. What is that group? What's the mission of that, and why is that important?
So StEER is a group of engineers, researchers from both university and from industry. And so this group basically serves as this large network across the world, heavily concentrated in the US, but across the world as well. And the whole point is that we have this network so that when an extreme event hits, be it an earthquake, be it a tornado, a hurricane, a tsunami, we have a network of qualified individuals who can go out, gather data, and assess possible structural failures and successes. And so we can learn more and collect that data moving forward.
Wow. So let's say it sounds like you don't necessarily have to be a professor or have a PhD, but just have some sort of interest and expertise to get involved.
Yeah, so we have we usually do actually bring a number of grad students with us whenever we deploy. So we also have a number of people who are part of the network who are from like Simpson Strong Ties. So these are the people who make hurricane ties for your roof. And so they come out with us as well. And we might have people from other industries that might not have, you don't need a PhD to do it. You just have to have some sort of background in it, or background in data science is the other one we recommend to be part of StEER.
Awesome. So as a new person, like if someone's listening to this and like, wow, that sounds great, like how would they learn about that and get involved?
Yeah, so their website, so just steer.network, has a lot of information on how you can be involved, types of products that StEER puts out. And the main thing for being involved is just to reach out to us. We're always looking for new members. It always helps to have a very robust group of people so that we can send it out, because a number of times an event might happen and we can't have the whole network dispersed. We don't have, all the same free time, or available time, I should say. And so having that robust network is really beneficial to us. So anytime you reach out to someone or fill out the application that's on the website, we're pretty responsive to that.
Yeah. And from what I've seen, I'm part of the StEER network as well, and I, as the NCO here, just to when I can, right? It's not very often, but to be involved in some of the virtual assessments and things like that. It's been really interesting to see people from literally all over the world who are part of StEER. So you don't necessarily even have to be a researcher in the US. And in fact, it's advantageous. Like, let's say you live in Turkey and are able to respond
really
when a big event like that happens. It'd be really helpful. Yeah. So it's really great to hear that there's a low barrier to entry, and if you're interested and have some even a little bit of skill, then it's a great network to be a part of.
Yeah, and we usually start out, there's different levels to your membership. And so you could start out as level 1 and you work up. And the level 1 means you start off being involved in what we call virtual reconnaissance. And so we put together, as you mentioned, these virtual assessments where we gather all this data from social media, from news outlets, from an event, and kind of synthesize it into a report. And it lets us see what are the patterns, what are we seeing for what failed. And we also put it into context of the hazard. So we outline the hazard a bit in that as well. And those are made available to people so you can look back and see, okay, well, from this event, these were the major findings. And this is what StEER recommended for future research, or if additional in-person kind of reconnaissance is required. And usually we start you out with those virtual ones. So it helps you kind of get an understanding for the whole process. And then we don't send you out on your own. You go with different leveled members. And that's really nice because you end up learning a lot from those people.
Yeah, and some of the people that are involved, I mean, all of them have really great levels of expertise, and they're all interested in building a good team and teaching others how to be part of that and bringing you along. So it's not like you're just going to be thrown in the deep end and expected to swim. It's a really welcoming team that's focused on bringing each other up.
Oh, no, they're awesome. I mean, I joke, I learned from, as we jokingly call them, the Davids.
Yes.
Dr. David Prevatt and Dr. David Rouche. And actually the first reconnaissance I went out on with Dr. David Rouche, I actually kind of followed him around with everything to kind of understand, okay, well, what are we looking for when we look at these buildings? And I learned so much from doing that with him.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Design Safe Radio. We really appreciate it. Smash that like button if you're watching this on YouTube. Hit that little subscribe button. That really helps us out and bring this message to more people who are interested in hearing about how our engineers and scientists are making our society more resilient to everything nature throws at us. A big thank you to our sponsors at the National Science Foundation. Our award number is 212-9782. And a big thank you to our program officer, Joy Kowski, who is excellent. And our team at the National Science Foundation's Network Coordination Office for NARI. Marty LaChance is our question writer and copy editor extraordinaire. Raquel Ruiz manages all things technical and editorial. And Morgan Glass is our social media coordinator. Big thank you to everybody at the NARI NCO and all of our experimental facilities. Thank you and have a great day.